Hey, what's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 2017 career mode. This is part number 24 today for the Russian Grand Prix in Season 2. If you did miss the last episode, episode number 23 at the Bahrain Grand Prix, be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. But a huge thanks to you guys for the amazing support still on this series. Been loving reading through all the comments and everything like that, and the likes have been absolutely crazy on each episode, so thank you so much for that. So we're getting into our usual pre-practice routine here, taking a look at the engine, just kind of assessing, going through, just flicking through column 1 and column 2, just checking the percentage you can see on the right hand side, and also actually the laps as well. I kind of started to look at the laps more so than the percentage as well, just to kind of gauge the mileage. Obviously the laps won't mean too much actually in reality, because obviously a lap can be very different around Russia compared to Bahrain. You know, if we were to go to Spa, obviously that's a very long lap, but still trying to use that as a gauge on how our engine parts are wearing out. Obviously the longer we can take these engines, the better that's going to be for the entire season. Of course, there were plenty of comments from you guys in the first few episodes saying we may have a hard time with the Renault team for reliability. So far, it's been okay, and so you can see as I've been talking about that, we're going through into practice 1. It actually started off in wet conditions. Intermediates, you can see I had to do the track acclimatization. I thought I'd do that in the wet because I could have waited till FP2 when it did get dry, but I thought I'd go out and just do this one practice program in the intermediates because there is some rain forecast for qualifying. You can see I got it a little bit wrong into the final corner. I still actually ended up getting the full points for that. I did actually get a green gate lit up for that last corner, so even though I did spin it across the line, that was all fine. Kind of just added some flair, if you will, to the end of the lap. And you can see now on the top right, we finally got over 1,000 points on our R&D points collection. So we've finally gone and purchased that our first engine upgrade. You can see Renault, the AI Renault, did 2 upgrades already in Season 1 when we were at Toro Rosso, but now finally we can actually add to that tree and tapestry of R&D ourselves and get that 3rd upgrade in a row. And then probably with the Renault team, we'll be looking to make our way upwards like we did with Toro Rosso, but obviously in Toro Rosso, towards the end of the season, we decided not to get that major upgrade, which takes, I think, 2 weeks to make, or even 3 or 4, and costs 1,500 points. So we're going to go for that. I may actually try and hack it a little bit and try to maybe get that upgrade via the durability path, because there's the dotted line, if you may see on the R&D tree, which you can actually jump ahead to that upgrade if you go with durability to the internal combustion engine. But we'll get to that bridge. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, I should say. But you can see now we did get a core competency as well for the simultaneous development, so we can now do 2 parts for a department at the same time. I don't know how useful that will be, to be honest. I don't think I've done that once this season so far. In this career mode now with the R&D system, the way it takes a lot longer to get the points, and you know, obviously each upgrade costs a lot more. I just never get to a point, or would see a point where you would have that many points to hand unless you're just hoarding the points. But I don't think that's a strategy that I'm gonna personally ever use. But now you can see we move ahead to qualifying, and as I mentioned, there was some rain forecast, and indeed it is chucking down cats and dogs at the moment. Full wet conditions at the start of qualifying here, so you can see as the car gets ready for Q1, it's going to be a bit of an unknown, because even though we did that 1 lap in intermediates, these are full wet conditions, so I've yet to see what the Renault is like in full wet. Hopefully it's not too much of a boat, although as I literally say that, you can see I'm literally squirreling and squirming across the last few corners to start my first ever flying lap here at Russia in Q1, and we'll just see how it goes. We've cut on quickly to the turn 2. I'm going to keep on probably mistakenly saying turn 1, but it's technically turn 2, but it's such a long straight, just cut ahead, and you can see getting a little bit wrong out of that traction zone there, so lost a fair bit of time. So as you come across the line, we do end up setting that lap time, and we're actually going to continue on for another lap. Obviously the full wet tyres, they don't wear out too much. I did fuel up the car for at least 3 laps here this afternoon in Q1, so we continue on, and straight away you can see I didn't even take that corner particularly well, but on the top right you can see the delta time is shot up there just because I've actually managed to control the car in a straight line, although the same can't be said in turn 3. But we still did gain quite a bit of time, so we come across the line to improve even more so up into P12, and then we continue on for one more 3rd flying lap. I said we did fuel up, and we can see going opposite lock through the last few corners, but still gaining more time. So as the fuel comes down, just getting time, and we're up into P6 there. Hulkenberg so far out qualifying us, and then we move on to the final results, and thankfully you can see we have made it through in P12. Nico doing a really great job in P8, but I say thankfully because there definitely was a little bit of fear within me that we wouldn't even make it through through Q1 just because the car really didn't feel that great, but obviously that's the great thing about, you know, the past 2 F1 games now. The wet weather kind of feeling of the cars is always so much slower, so you've got to kind of just take it relative to the AI as well are going to be feeling that, well, if they could feel, they would be feeling that bad. So we move on to Q2 anyway. You can see dancing even more so. It's now intermediate, so a very interesting qualifying session this actually is as a whole. That it's going to be, it started off raining, heavy rain, and as we go through the sessions, it's getting lighter and lighter. Even at the end of this session, it felt better than it did at the start. You can see we're on our second flying lap now. I actually abandoned this lap because you can see the Mercedes has actually come to overtake me, Hamilton. I just let him through, and I'm going to abort my second flying lap and continue on for a third flying lap in technicality, but my second real one that's going to count. You can see we've gained quite a bit of time here right at the death of this session. Lewis Hamilton at the moment on a provisional first place in the second part of qualifying here. We come across the line, a little bit delayed, but finally we get to see we are in 5th place there. Unsure where Nico is at this point, but then we move on to the results table, and Nico does also make it through into Q3, just about by the skin of his teeth there in 10th place, but he does make it through into Q3. So a really great showing for the Renault boys, both of us in the top 10 shootout here. And you can see I'm going with a very bold strategy. We're moving on to ultra soft tires. We can go to the monitor and just fast forward here, because if we look ahead to the weather indicator, it looks like you can see on the right hand side there, it's a cloud without a little droplet, which means it's going to get overcast and may just about be time for the ultra softs. And so we leave it to the very end of the session. Literally, look at this. We come across the line, and there we just about make it. I think there was literally a pixel between me crossing the line and the timer on the top right going to 0 and me not making it out in time for what is going to be our one and only flying lap. So you can see we cut through into turn 2 now, through turn 3, the long left-hander just about keeping it on the road. You can see a little bit slidey there in 7th gear, as it is time for the dry tyres. Everyone is qualifying on ultra softs now, but you can clearly see if you look closer at the tyres, there's still spray coming off those sidewalls, so it's still a little bit damp here. And so I'm skating through as best I can through the 3rd sector, and to be honest, just trying to keep it on the black stuff, and in reality hopefully that will just be enough really, because when you're in these conditions, you know, we've seen it before. Like, I'm trying to think back to the Silverstone at one point, one of the British Grand Prix, I can't remember which year exactly, when Hamilton didn't go out and Rosberg did stay out, and he gained enough time on the dry part of the circuit to make it work. So we come across the line, it's going to be, I don't even know what that was. It's going to, we have to wait a little bit for the animation to come out to P8, which is pretty damn decent actually for the Renault team at Russia there. But we move on to the results, and you can see what on earth has Nico Hülkenberg been eating this weekend. 3rd place in qualifying. Legit. 3rd place in very tricky conditions. Our teammate has out-qualified us, but completely surprised the entire paddock probably by getting the 2nd row, 3rd place on the flipping grid for the Russian Grand Prix. That's absolutely fantastic. I mean, I'm genuinely happy for him and the team. That's amazing. So this is going to be very, very interesting for the starting order, but absolutely crazy stuff there. My lap in the end wasn't actually a great one, but either way, well and truly outshined by Nico, and so we'll see how it goes. So let's get to the race.
Tough race in store then for our drivers today. So tell me, Anthony Davidson, what will you be looking out for as the cars make their way down into turn 1?
Well, first of all, let's hope that everyone's well behaved and we can have a nice incident-free start. That initial release is going to be the most interesting thing. And the clean side of the grid will be better rubbered in, so keep an eye out for cars over there potentially making their way through.
With that then, let's run through the grid order. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hülkenberg, Vettel, Romain Grosjean and Ricciardo, Verstappen and Renault, Raikkonen and Felipe Massa, Perez, Kvyat, Carlos Sainz and Ocon, Stroll, Magnussen, Fernando Alonso and Stoffel van Dorn, Wehrlein and Marcus Ericsson rounds off the grid.
So it's going to be overcast here for the start of this race, but it's going to get sunnier and sunnier as we go through the race. So it's going to be a one-stop bog standard like we saw in Season 1 and like in real life, but we're going to fill up on fuel here. So that's going to be the kind of only change strategically that we do from the default strategy, because just like at Bahrain, I want to use the rich mix during the race. Yes, so one of you guys did point out that they will wear out the internal combustion engine, but I think you can kind of see the balance there and the bit of compromise of being faster in the actual race then. And, you know, the wear hasn't been too bad on the internal combustion engine, so I'm not too worried about that. So let's get straight into this very exciting stuff with Nico Hülkenberg, our teammate, on 3rd place there on the 2nd row of the grid as we go to 5 red lights for the Russian Grand Prix. The lights are out and we're underway here. It's a great start for Max Verstappen and myself really to try and maybe overtake the Haas. And up ahead, I think it's Nico with a great start there as he's maybe trying to challenge the 2 Mercedes cars as he barrel down towards turn 2. Look at that, Nico's going to try and maybe get into the lead of this race. Down the inside, Lewis Hamilton as we try and get tucked in behind Verstappen, kind of get boxed in with him and Grosjean. We try and feed around the outside, Verstappen being very rude and not giving us too much room there, although obviously he's probably got only eyes for the Haas in front of him. But anyway, we still managed to hang it around his outside into turn 3. We'll dive it down the inside. We're not even going to try and overtake the Haas. I'm still trying to keep ahead of Verstappen here. This will be a great start for us and a really poor one also from one of the Ferrari cars there. I think that may be Raikkonen. So at the moment, a pretty decent start for us to be ahead of one Red Bull and a Ferrari. Now we're looking at the back of Grosjean's car. Up ahead on track, though, I can just about see, I think that's Hülkenberg still ahead of Sebastian Vettel and Daniel Ricciardo. He tried a pretty confident move into turn 2 against Hamilton, I think it was, so fair play to him there, but it wasn't able to obviously pull it off. The downforce of the Renault v the Mercedes is never going to be good enough to actually make the move, but he tried it, so I'll give him that. But now we move on to the back straight, and we're now having a look at a move on Grosjean. Move to left-hand side, we were in standard, and now we move down to lean mixture as we enter sector 3. You're probably going to see me doing that quite a few times in this race, because this sector is pretty much the only sector where we can kind of save fuel and not lose out too much. And so we go side by side with Grosjean, and we do stick it through on the left hand side to overtake him. Meanwhile, up ahead you can see Hülkenberg is being overtaken by Vettel into the chicane, so he's going to be down the order into at least 4th place there. But we're looking at a replay now of that start, and look at this start Hülkenberg got there. That's actually a fantastic start to get ahead of Bottas fair and square. So he wasn't a second legitimately just off his really great start there, getting the traction down, and he goes down the inside of Hamilton, tries to make it work, it nearly forces him off circuit. Bit of contact made there, and ultimately that contact is going to be the thing that sends him off a little bit wide, and Bottas able to get back past him into 2nd place. But as I said, at least, respect. He tried to make that work, and it just didn't pull off, but, he tried it. So he's now down to 4th place, being chased after Daniel Ricciardo, as I'm being chased after Kimi Raikkonen. Very, very close stuff there as I take to the racing line, and Kimi kind of saw that a little bit too late there, so he nearly pushed it into the wall. But he goes down the inside of turn 2. We tried to fight him as much as we can on the exit through turn 3. We're on the inside. It will turn to the outside for the next corner, unfortunately. We're still there, so we're trying our best. I'm going to try and outbrake him if I can, but he's just got the better line. He actually shoves us off then on the exit, so we have to kind of just put up our hands and kind of give up the position and just tuck in behind, and probably most likely he will close up to Ricciardo and Hülkenberg and overtake him, so I can use that and try and overtake them. And as we move on to lap 4 now, you can see Raikkonen right up the back of Ricciardo, so this is exactly what I was talking about, and hopefully these two are going to go side by side maybe into the 3rd sector, and much like we saw from season 1 when Verstappen battled Perez, maybe we can get in the mix of this and kind of just stick our nose in as they go toe to toe into the brake zone. Verstappen a little bit wayward there on the inside, a little wiggle from his car, but he does well to defend. And meanwhile, Hülkenberg also parks the bus, and we're going to try and nip it down the inside and make it 3 wide momentarily into the chicane. Verstappen on the outside, Raikkonen sandwich in between. We still will make it through, and all the room's been given actually, so fair play to everyone involved there. Major respect to Verstappen and Raikkonen. We made it through there. Very tricky corner because it tightens up, so going 3 wide in there was always going to be tricky. It's off camera as well, but ultimately Verstappen loses out. Raikkonen overtakes him, and I overtake Verstappen, so Verstappen's lost 2 places in the span of a couple of corners there. So that's exactly literally planned to perfection of what I wanted there. Raikkonen to overtake him and me to overtake him. So hopefully the same could be maybe done with Hülkenberg. We'll have to see. I think maybe Raikkonen will have a much easier time though overtaking Hülkenberg. So we move on later into the Grand Prix, I think a couple of laps later, and there goes Raikkonen on the left-hand side to overtake Hülkenberg. As I just said, it probably will be a very easy move compared to Verstappen, and there you go. He's already got it even before the braking zone commences there. So Raikkonen up the order now, and kind of order is resumed, I guess you could say, because I think at the moment it's a 1-2 for Mercedes, and then it's going to be 3-4 for Ferrari once more. So it looks like the maximum we can maybe hope for in this Grand Prix is going to be P5 and P6 maybe. At the moment, you can see on lap 11 now, we're in P4, Hülkenberg's in P3 because a few of the top runners have made their first pit stop of the afternoon. You can see Hamilton now is back behind me because he's going to be doing a 2-stop, and I would imagine both Mercedes and both Ferraris will be trying that 2-stop, that it was the alternative strategy. Obviously, us being in the Renault, we just don't have enough pace to make make that work. And so, as was the case in Season 1, these guys are going to be re-overtaking. Although, I do try and give Hamilton a hard time here, as he's going to try and overtake us, but it's not blue flag situation, so I'm allowed to defend my position, and we do so for now into Sector 3. Now, there wasn't maybe too much of a point putting on that fight, but I felt like I would, just trying to defend my position and my track position along with Hulkenberg's, trying to work as a bit of a team, basically, and try and maybe get us up the order as much as we can. But we go 3 wide now into Turn 2. This is very, very scary and nerve-wracking there, as I lock up on the right tyre, and I could just see both cars coming into me, and that gap was closing and closing, so that was a bit of a nerve-wracking situation. Thankfully, it did work out, and we do get up the order into P2 now, as it were. We did actually manage to overtake Nico, and you can see it's a very late call for us to come into the pits on lap 12, because I was actually looking to when Nico was going to come in, because I didn't want to obviously come into the same lap as him. It's a brilliant position for the team to be in such lofty heights with both cars, so I definitely did not want to do a double stack pit stop, basically. So last minute call there, saw Nico was going to continue on, so a last minute call to dive in there, along with the Red Bull of Verstappen, I think that is, or maybe even Ricciardo, that might be. So we come in for the set of super soft tyres, and we won't be seeing the pit crew for the rest of this race because of the one stop there, but you can see there is that Red Bull car, and just behind is the Williams of Felipe Massa, I think that is as well. So it's going to be interesting to see where we come out on track as we go down that long pit exit, and we look on the right hand side, there is the other Red Bull car. Not too sure still which one is which, but as we go down to Turn 2, this is going to be very, very close. It's going to be neck and neck as we go down the inside. It's Ricciardo side by side, banging tyres as well, and on the exit, banging tyres completely there, and Ricciardo shoving me off a little bit as we try and go around the outside into Turn 3. This absolutely ding-dong battle with the Australian down the inside into the end of Sector 1. Very, very close stuff. Have to leave him in the room, and he's actually got the downforce to swoop it around, and he's comfortably there. We're going to have to try and outbrake him now. Very tricky corner, this one next. We're going to just shove him off a little bit, squeeze him out. We are ahead of him by half a car's width, so we squeeze him out, and we've got it up into P12 at the moment, and he'll have to tuck in behind, and behind him then is his teammate, then Max Verstappen, I think. So now we move on to lap 14, the next lap, and you can see up ahead there is Nico Hulkenberg in the distance, the dot on the minimap in yellow. So Hulkenberg's gained a lot of time there, so it takes us 3 laps later to lap 17 to catch up to Nico, and now we're going to finally go for a move and try and overtake our teammate down the inside. He's locked up on the front right there, you can clearly see, so it's given us the room to go around the outside then for the second part of the chicane, and so we're up the order now, and so Hulkenberg may have to contend with the Red Bull, but you can see a bit of a train forming, the 2 Renaults, us 2 Renaults, then the Red Bull, then you got Force India, I think that is, and then the second Red Bull car, and then Massa not too far behind the Williams. But now as we go down the main straight, Hulkenberg's actually got DRS and he's going down my inside. We're in lean mix at the moment to save some fuel. We brake a little bit early and try and give him the space, because against my teammate I'm not going to put up too much of a fight in terms of, you know, we're both going to lose time if I fight too much with him. So I made it easy for him for the good of the team, so we can both be there in that position still so far, because if we can keep this would be absolutely amazing for the constructors. So playing a respectful game with Hulkenberg there for the good of the team and the result. And you can see behind us now Verstappen looks to have overtaken Perez, so the 2 Red Bulls line astern. As we go into the break point now, entering Sector 3, Ricciardo dives it round the outside, trying to feed it through. We squeeze him out there. He's gone off circuit a tad, and now Verstappen comes through very aggressively to go round the outside. Beautiful move there from Verstappen. That's always a very tight corner, off camber somewhat. You always understeer and then oversteer on the exit, so that's really great from Verstappen to actually make that move and hold it through. Looks like there was a little bit of contact there, so maybe a little bit of an angsty move there from Horner on the pit wall probably as he watched that. But now we move on to the next lap 25, and now it'll be Verstappen's turn to maybe try and make a pass. We've got DRS once again on Hulkenberg to help us, and once again Verstappen tries to go around the outside just like Ricciardo did. Hulkenberg brake checks us somewhat, so he slowed us down as well as Verstappen, and that allows Massa, I think that is, if we look briefly behind us, to go around the outside in the same place Verstappen did on Ricciardo. So now it's Felipe Massa who's behind us. So we've had 3 different drivers try and overtake us, and so far it's no use. I'm using DRS very wisely and tactically from Hulkenberg to try and help me defend the position. And Hulkenberg, well, I would say he's helping me, but on that last lap he definitely did brake check me a tiny bit, and didn't. That was a little bit kind of pulling the collar moment, because we got a little bit too slow into that corner for my liking, and Verstappen got very, very close to actually sticking it down my inside. But so far so good now on the second last lap of the Grand Prix. Now we move on to the last lap of the Grand Prix, so the race has flown by. Lap 27 now, so this is the last chance for Massa to make a move on me, and the last chance for me to make a move on Hulkenberg. We've been patient with making the move on Hulkenberg, and we're leaving it to the last lap of the Grand Prix, so this is going to be very, very close, and I fear to say maybe a little bit too late, and maybe I'm just going to have to take one for the team and basically just see this home and hopefully not let Massa overtake me. He's on ultra soft tyres, actually. I haven't even mentioned yet this entire time, so he's been on the faster tyre this entire second stint, but you can see now through this last sector, I'm pushing flat out, trying to gain as much time as I can in the brake zones and every bit of apex speed, and you can see I'm pushing so hard that I'm kind of making the car go sideways through the final corner, and so we drift across the line for what will be a 5th place there, and for Nico Hulkenberg, it'll be 4th place, so that is literally amazing result for Renault. Such a great result for the team. That is absolutely awesome. And yes, we played a bit of a team game there, and unfortunately I left it a bit too late, which was my mistake, but I think in hindsight I would, I don't mind that too much, because the team is going to get so many good points here for the constructors, and that's going to help us in that fight against Red Bull potentially. I don't know if we can actually take the fight to Red Bull, but I want to give us every bit of a chance possible. And you can see up ahead for the podium, it was Valtteri Bottas that took the win from Lewis Hamilton, I think that was, and then Sebastian Vettel. So all in all, a pretty damn awesome day here at the Russian Grand Prix in Season 2. You can see, actually, it was Sebastian Vettel that took second, actually, and it was Hamilton in third. But for the Drivers' Championship now, it means that Hulkenberg overtakes Magnussen to get up into 7th there, to slot in just behind me in the Drivers' Championship. And then for the Constructors, as I mentioned, we do re-overtake Red Bull Racing, so that's absolutely awesome to see. So we are trying our best, and I will be trying my best this entire season, trying to rustle the feathers of Red Bull. Not just for the sake of the team, but also, obviously, I've got a bit of a personal vendetta now, obviously, after not getting the Red Bull drive at the end of Season 1. I'm still bitter, so if we can stick it to Red Bull with the Renault team, that'd be absolutely awesome. But, yeah, really good Grand Prix as a whole, and, really enjoyable one, actually, to just try and tactically defend all race long in that second stint. So, guys, if you did enjoy that episode, smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. Now, before we go, we need to take a look at one last thing here, which is going to be a durability upgrade to the car. You can see at the moment, looking at the internal combustion engine, but then debating in my head, we actually ended up going with a gearbox reliability fix and upgrade there. So that'll be the first level available for the gearbox. That's quite a significant percentage. It will try and slow down the wear. Now, my thinking behind that is, yes, now you can see column number 1, internal combustion engine, is worn, but more importantly, gearbox number 1 is 52% worn, and we've got to take it 2 more races. So I think for the other gearboxes, that upgrade's going to be the more key one in the long run. And, we can always upgrade the internal combustion engine at a later point. So that's my thinking there. So that's going to be the end of the episode now, guys. So once again, hit that like button if you did enjoy it. I will see you guys next time. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.